Welcome to First Stream Podcast presented by Bet Rivers. Make sure you download the Bet Rivers app or go to www.betrivers.com. You must be 21 years or older to play. On today's episode of First Stream Podcast, we have the one and only Scott Jackson joining us. We'll talk a little NFL ownership, the Commanders, some NBA. Draymond Green puts his foot down. So y'all know what we about to do. Y'all ready? Let's go. Welcome back to First Stream Podcast presented by Bet Rivers. Make sure you guys download the Bet Rivers app or go to www.betrivers.com. You must be 21 years or older to play. As always, don't forget to give First Stream Podcast a good thumbs up. Hit the bell to enable alerts. Tell a friend to tell a friend about First Stream Podcast and leave comments as well. Get active in that chat with us. Well, y'all know we got a lot of people to bring in and get on here. Let's start off with my guy, Said. Let's see if he knows what GOAT stands for. What's good, Said?
What's going on, brother?
All right. Do you know what GOAT stands for?
Yeah.
What does it stand for, Said?
Greatest of all time.
That's what Jason Tatum said y'all will call him after this series is over. Y'all will call him the greatest of all time. I'm just saying. That's what he told me to tell you, so now you know.
Oh, I got a little present for Ant when he get on. Well, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna bring Lady A on right now, and let's see. How are you doing, ma'am?
Hello. You said who said they're gonna be the greatest of all time?
That's what Tatum told me to tell Sid about the Hawks. They about to call him the greatest of all time.
Okay.
He put his thing down. So,
Whoa.
Okay. All right.
No, Sid, not like that, man. He just said he
so.
about to put that. He said he about to give Atlanta everything they asked for.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, see, you go to the corner right now.
That's
Ant, let's get Ant in here. Sid, what you got for Ant?
You gotta introduce Ant better than that. Come on now.
Hell, man. Why you just say Ant and drop me in? What is that?
Okay, my bad. Hold on. Let's try this. Listen. Let's bring on the one and only person that keeps the show going. He brings in the lady viewership. Drum roll, please, for the young Ant Mo. Hey, how's that, sir?
Well, Lady A, I saw her smirk when you said that. I don't bring in the older ladies such as yourself, but I do bring in the lady viewership. You know, if she gonna throw slugs at me, I'm just gonna respond right back. Okay, I'm feeling spicy today.
Was he talking about me? Was he saying that I was?
I'm feeling like a Cajun. I'm feeling like Cajun wings today. You understand me?
Okay.
Anyway,
Hey,
how y'all doing, man? Good to see everybody, including her. Good to see everybody, including you, Lady A.
Not the Cajun wings. Oh,
I'm feeling like Cajun wings today. Louisiana hot sauce.
A little spicy. I got you. Said you had something for Ant?
Oh, I do have something for Ant. You know what, Ant? The possibility of Atlanta getting swept in this series could give y'all the point guard y'all looking for.
Which is who?
Ice trade. They say they're willing to trade everybody.
Oh,
for
They
real.
say they're willing to trade everybody.
Owner.
and since we
Oh,
talking
hold on.
basketball, let's bring in
Oh,
Scott
The owners
Jackson
say
right now.
they want to say they can trade anybody they want to.
Mm.
Hey, let's bring in Scott Jackson, the pride of Old Dominion.
I don't want this. See,
What's good, Scott? How are you?
Hey, everybody, good to see you. The introductions are something. And I feel like the time's run out and the show's going to close out.
Hey, Ant wanted his proper introduction, so
I didn't say to do none of that. You did, but I do take it now.
All right, let's get these boxes the way they're supposed to be. Scott gets the big box, say it goes
Oh,
up
wow.
top. Okay, there we go. There we go. Scott, our guests are in our big box now. So yeah. Thank you for joining us. How have you been enjoying the NBA playoffs so far?
Well, I mean, the first few days have been crazy with the injuries. I mean, to two of the biggest players in the league, obviously, has kind of got everybody holding their breath. I mean, and I kind of like Milwaukee going into it, playing Boston. But obviously, if, this Antetokounmpo thing drags out, all bets are off at that point. And obviously, you're going to see how Ja comes out of it. I mean, I thought that was a tough series for them. They've had kind of a weird season. And the fact that the Lakers, with the experience of obviously, the King is huge. I mean, that's I think everybody's going to be scared of them. And it's been wild to see the Warriors, on the ropes a little bit here in the early going with this King series. But I would say it's not over, although, if the league puts their thumb on the scale, so to speak, and takes Green out of the next game, maybe too much to ask for at that point. But, overall, it's been good. I kind of felt like it was, the West is really wide open going into it, and it still looks like that to me. And then, like I said, I think there's two teams that are higher than everybody else in the East, but a lot of it's dependent on injury. We were talking about it coming into it, Milwaukee, if they have Middleton versus Milwaukee without Middleton. And now it's like, okay, it doesn't matter if the Greek Freak's not on the court or is at least hobbled. So I think it's them at Boston. And then, I would say Philadelphia's got a chance to steal this thing just through the battle of attrition. If either one of those teams, stumbles due to injuries.
So out West, everyone has had an eye on like two series, the Warriors being down and then the Lakers doing what they're doing. Which is the bigger surprise to you? AD playing the way he's playing or Fox playing the way that he is playing? And he sort of did it all year.
Yeah, I mean, you just never know, right, until these guys get in the playoffs. I mean, he's never been in the postseason. So I think that's been the biggest surprise. But, I mean, I will caution, they've been on the home floor for 2 games. They did what they were supposed to do. But, I mean, he's a up-and-coming player, and, he showed that. I mean, he's done nothing to, take away any of the stuff that people have expected from him. So it's been a cool story. I mean, I remember some of those Kings teams back in the day, going back 17, 18 years ago now, when they had Chris Webber on the team and, Vlade and Peja Stojakovic and Turkoglu was there, as well. And then Doug Christie. Those were some really good teams. They ran into the Lakers. And one year, I'll never forget, I remind Doc Walker about it all the time. Really, the league just decided there's no chance we're letting the Kings move on. And they just came in. It was the worst officiated playoff game ever. And, it really felt like they were trying to make sure that the Kings didn't move on, or at least they got their game 7. They had a chance to close them out. But, I've always felt like since then, Sacramento feels like they've kind of been snake bit. So it's cool to see them back in it. Obviously, it's cool with Mike Brown. It's a good story. They did it the right way. They drafted well. They've been on the bottom forever. So I've kind of, respect them. But I would still, I'm not discounting the Warriors yet. They still got a heart of a champion. But, it's a lot of tread on the tires there. I mean, there's guys, they've played multiple seasons really extra because of all these playoff games. And the Wiggins factor, I mean, the fact that he has not been with the team that long this year, I think you should see a little bit of that. The rust, they're really sloppy at times last night, A
lot of turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, they can be, even when they're at their best, they can be sloppy, at times. And, they're kind of reckless with the basketball or whatever. But last night was really kind of crazy. All that being said, I mean, it was a game for a stretch that could have gone either way, like down the, like that was still tight enough, late where they could have pulled it out. But obviously, then with the Green thing, with the stomp and all that, I mean, I'll be interested to see what the NBA does because he's got such a reputation now. And, he's earned it. I wouldn't be surprised if they make him sit a game, which kind of stinks because you like to see everybody at full strength, but I understand why they do it if they do.
You got to do it.
It seemed that the energy in the game changed when he got ejected.
Yeah.
Because Golden State was on the run. They were closing in tight. And right after that ejection, it's just like they never clicked again for the rest of the game.
Yeah, he's so important to what they do on a lot of levels, right? I mean, he's like their glue guy on their team, but he is, he's got these moments where he just combusts. and this is the worst possible time to do that. And it certainly adds to the challenge if he's not on the floor in this next game. But, I think, they still got a good chance going back at home to at least, make this thing interesting, I think. And hopefully, if you want to see a long series, it'd win the next two games and put the pressure on the young team.
And
I don't know if I'm actually interested in seeing a long series. Secretly, I'm rooting for the Kings, but I did pick Golden State to make it an extended long series to pull out just off a simple immaturity of them never being there. But the thing I'll say is, concerning Draymond, being the emotional leader is one of the most difficult things because, it works until it doesn't work. The moments where any emotional leader combusts, after setting the tone for so long. I think this is one of those things I was thinking as I was listening to you talk. We never know that we can't really go back and say we knew the moment when the Warriors became the winners that they have displayed for 4 championships. In return, so we don't know if the Kings are actually coming of age for real.
Right.
But then on the flip side, maybe it's moments like this because they made a hard push the first game, the Warriors did, to make it close late. So on the flip side, we don't know if the Father Time Bro thing really is just ever present, and our recollection of who they've always been is just so strong that we can't see it before our eyes. So it's definitely interesting to see what how the rest of the series is going to play out. Only 8 losses at home for the Warriors all year.
Mm-hmm.
And 10 road wins all year. So it's scary. So one of those them winning a game or losing one of the next 2 could be the total indication of what this series is going to look like.
Yeah, I'm thinking you nailed it. I mean, and again, like last year's run was so improbable, like going into the playoffs, and then when they got past the first round, you're like, oh, okay. Past the second round, you're like, oh, okay, I see it now, and it broke for them. And we saw some of that old championship swag back. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I did feel like there were at times last year when I was watching them, even though they were winning, like Klay Thompson wasn't quite the guy they extended prior to those injuries. And, Green, had his, ups and downs. And really last year, Wiggins was the guy who saved them a lot of nights, obviously. Cool. And so they're going to have to get, more from those guys, especially if Draymond's out in this next game. And obviously Curry's got to do what he always does. So it will be it'll be fascinating to see. I mean, I still, like I said, just because of who they are, not gonna count it out. I don't think they'll let it be easy. And they haven't, again, they've been competitive in these 2 games. But like you said, I mean, they've not been able to close them out on the road. Been an issue, and now the strength of their team, we'll see if it shows up on the home floor.
Lady A.
So everyone's talking about Draymond, and we're doing that now. But one issue that I see that not a lot of people are talking about is Jordan Poole. And it kind of, for me, it kind of piggybacks off of Draymond, Jordan, they had an incident in the past and back in, I think, October. And I have to wonder, did Draymond knock something loose? I mean, Jordan, he has that 4-year extension and he is playing awful right now. So what are your thoughts on Jordan Poole and how can he get it together?
Well, like I said, I think last year when they, were good in the playoffs, he had some really big games, obviously. Wiggins was really important for them too. I mean, it can't just be Curry and Thompson. They got to have those other guys come through and, whatever minutes Gary Payton Jr. gives them, like all the bench players. I mean, usually that's what kind of separates these teams this time of year is the role guys, because usually the stars, the guys you expect to do well. But you're right. I mean, it's been weird. And, hey, look, sometimes you nailed it. I mean, you get paid. Certain guys can handle it. And that's why you respect the hell out of them. You give them lottery money and they still come to work and are badasses every day, like a kid like Steph Curry. Obviously, LeBron's been at that level forever. I mean, he was always the chosen one and the one we've had Sports Illustrated, cover as a high school kid. And he always delivered. I mean, he always played at a real high level, and no matter how much money and fame he's gotten. So yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, you wonder, right? And then what was it? In the team dynamic, we won't ever probably know until somebody writes a book or does a 30 for 30 at some point about it. Now, I guess not really even a book; it's a 30 for 30. But like, what was it that precipitated all that? What it was, Draymond see, right? Like, was it something that he's kind of suspected all year as kind of being a leader on this team, that this guy wasn't, carrying his weight or whatever, and something just snapped in him, right? Like he shouldn't have done what he did, obviously, at practice, but there must have been something, right? There's something that led up to it to make him want to go ahead and take a shot at him. So,
well, that's great
point.
They say people fight in practice all the time.
Yeah,
it's just never cameras around, and unfortunately, was cameras around this time.
Yeah, but it was a weird one, right? Because he wasn't looking, if I remember correctly. Right? He wasn't ready for it.
That was not a fight. That wasn't.
He walked up on him.
They walked up on him. Yeah.
There are two people hitting each other in a fight. This was not a fight.
Yeah,
you're right.
Well, but if we look at Draymond is a bluff caller.
Right.
So so what I will say is, we don't have to make this a drawn out thing, but listen, you can't put your hands on people and not expect a reaction. I don't care what you say. And Draymond talked about it on a few podcasts and went into great details on Stephen A's. And he blamed himself for some stuff he was going through personally, but I have to believe that there were some things that were swirling around.
Yep.
It had to do with Poole talking about the extension and kind of throwing it up in people's face and Draymond's face, and it kind of warranted that reaction. Draymond's not on it, he's on the last year of his deal.
Yep.
He doesn't know what to look forward to besides coming to Dallas. So
wait, what?
No, there's been a lot of talks about that. I'm not joking. There's been a lot of talk about him coming.
He's
to
a
Dallas
Mark Cuban kind of guy, man. If there ever was one, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So and Lady A, I won't allow you to do that. Jordan Poole has played great in pockets, but this is the problem. If there's I'm not. I didn't say in the series. I said in
that's
pockets.
what I'm talking about right now. He's not doing it now.
The problem, though, with the Warriors team in general, the great thing and the bad thing is that they've always been Clay, Steph, Draymond having these elite windows where they play great, and then their bench has always been just better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And if they can't do that, especially as they start to age, and some of those shots start to not fall, that's the end of it. Dre can't, those moments aren't going to always, it's like they've always found the perfect spot to hit that shot, except for when a KD got hurt or something like that, or Draymond gets ejected in Game 5. If those moments don't happen anymore, that dynasty is over.
Speaking of KD, all right, so Paul George didn't play for the Clippers, and it pretty much was 3-on-1, and Kawhi Leonard came out with a W. Who saw this coming?
Yeah, I really like Phoenix. I mean, I thought Phoenix coming this series. I thought last year they were a disappointment. Obviously, the playoffs. I thought adding Kevin Durant to the team would be big for him. It's still early. I mean, that was a bad loss though. I mean, you lose in the home court right away, so you got to get one back, and obviously they have to win tonight. To feel good in that series. But I wouldn't count him out. Now that being said, I mean, last year, the last time we saw him in the playoffs was not great. With the Brooklyn Nets. So I hope it was just a fluke last season. I'd like to see that series go a little bit. But I mean, look, the Clippers, they've been waiting for this team to do something, right? I mean, they spent all that money on those guys and put them together, and everybody wanted to be together, and they haven't done anything for them. So, I mean, it shouldn't be, I guess, that shocking. But I guess the way they played this season, you didn't really see it coming necessarily.
All right.
Yeah, because as we watched that game, everybody seemed to be off. It wasn't just KD.
Yep.
Chris Paul was off. Everybody seemed to be off in that game. They were missing wide open shots right at the rim. Shots they would normally make, KD would normally make. They wide open threes. Shots were there. They were just missing those shots that were there. So can they get it together and show up in the next game and do what they're supposed to do? I think that was one of my favorite series to watch. See what Phoenix does against the Clippers. That was one of the series that I'm watching that I wanted to see. I wanted to see if the Phoenix Suns would gel at the right time to be a monster. Game 1, no.
Once again, we are here with Scott Jackson. We're talking NBA basketball right now. We're gonna switch sports real fast, and
Sure.
we're gonna head to the NFL. We are literally a week and some days away from the NFL draft. You guys down there, Lady A told us really early about this tight end out of ODU, Scott.
Zach Kuntz.
Yeah, gotta know, right? Have you talked to him? Have you told the young man he would look good in burgundy and gold? We got to get the inside scoop here.
I don't know. I think they spent he's kind of reminds me of some of the guys that they have here. I mean, athletically, he's more athletic than a Cole Turner, right? His athletic, his RAS score was off the charts or whatever. The thing last year that he had a real problem with was when he was playing. He didn't play that many games. He got hurt. Was the fact that he was really a marked man. Teams went out of their way to bracket him, and he did not handle it well at all. He had a big game against Virginia, but Virginia, as it turns out, was pretty crappy. Tech took him out of his game. Trying to think of there's a few other games that he played okay, and there were some games he just really wasn't part of it. But at the same time, the quarterback play wasn't great there. Last year, Wolf was not very good. He just transferred. He's got the portal this week, and that being said, we had a receiver kid named Allie Jennings who had an awesome year with the same quarterback, and he was also a marked man most weeks, and he ended up transferring to Virginia Tech. So I'll be curious to see. I think physicality, can he handle the physical grind of the NFL? I think will be the thing. Blocking, those kind of things, and can he be durable? Because I think that those would be the things you look at. You see so many of these bigger, longer tight ends now that everybody gets so excited about on draft night, and then they come to the league and they get hurt a lot and they're not playing much. I was saying to a friend of mine, I was like, if you look at some of the tight ends taken over the last few years, the hit rate's almost as bad as quarterbacks, maybe even worse in some places. I mean, you're just waiting for these guys. I mean, remember last year with the Commanders, Cole Turner, they had Hodges, the other big kid from Arizona State, didn't do anything. I don't think Hodges ever played. Turner played, but he wasn't he wasn't productive. The kid Armani Rogers, a quarterback at Nevada, was better than all of them, until he got hurt. So I don't know. I mean, these big tight ends, it sounds cool. Everybody's looking for the next Tony Gonzalez or Antonio Gage, Jimmy Graham, name them, right? That's who they're looking for. And obviously Kittle and Kelsey now. But it's funny because, those guys were not taken in the first round. They were third round, fourth round guys, right, and did very well, talking about Kelsey and Kittle. But yeah, I mean, I think he'll be one of those late day 2, probably more likely day 3 guys. Kuntz, I would think. But some coaches or staff's going to be in love with him because of his size. And again, he's got a lot of things going for him. And I just hope he goes somewhere where there's a good quarterback and they get some other weapons around him, because he could certainly be a finishing piece for an offense for sure. I think he could be a nice nice piece, and especially as a red zone guy because of his size. He showed that.
Yeah.
Hey, a tight end that I remember, Vernon Davis out of University of Maryland with the San Fran. He wasn't that effective right off, but he had a very long career and did very well. So is it a thing of patience rather than expecting them to come in day one and turn into such a monster?
Yeah, I mean, look at Pitts even with Atlanta, right? I mean, he's had some injuries, but it hasn't been real smooth out of Florida. You look at the kid OJ Howard. I would have sworn when I saw him in Alabama he was going to be a stud, and never really did much of anything. And then you say guys that came in late. The guy who just got paid in Jacksonville, who's with the Giants,
Ingram.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a stud. Evan Ingram right away wasn't, but then slowly, yeah. I mean, it does feel like it suddenly become a position where it does take a little time. It's fascinating, but everybody's looking for these big tight ends now, that are athletic freaks, and you understand why. But, a lot of them too, I mean, they just get put in vulnerable spots. Remember Cole Turner last year in, that Chicago game. Of course, Wentz is thrown to him. It's probably a terrible example, as inaccurate as he was. But he had a climb. I mean, Cole Turner's like 6'8", climbing the ladder,
Yep.
And he just got left wide open and just got destroyed by somebody in Chicago. And then he was out for in the next few games because of it. But you just think about that, like some of these guys get these vulnerable positions, like, well, they're big, let's throw it up to them, which just leaves their entire body exposed to a safety or a linebacker.
He had a massive catch radius, but he also has a huge target radius.
Right. That's the other part of it. So I don't know, man. I'm fascinated by the tight ends. I really need to dig in on this with some people, because I was just looking at last year's class and the class before that. I was like, Yeah, man, none of these guys really jump off the page for you as like immediate, impact guys. It's kind of weird.
Lady A.
So I've been looking at a lot of these mock drafts, and I try not to take them serious. I really do. But do you think we need another running back named Robinson?
Ooh, Bijan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That would be wild. I mean, that would be such a luxury pick, but I don't think so. I mean, for me, I will look. I have a lot of things I didn't like about Mike Shanahan in his career when he was here, but the one thing that guy always believed in, and it played out to be pretty damn good. You don't have to spend high on running backs. Now, that being said, his kid, of course, overspent on McCaffrey last year. And a trade, it actually worked out pretty damn good for his kid. But anyway,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, I don't look. Washington's got so many needs. They took a running back last year, obviously early, in Robinson, and obviously completely different players. They don't have the kind of back like Bijan Robinson. But if you look at like the Andy Reid teams over the years, who, of course, Eric Bieniemy's been part of those staffs, usually gets backs later in drafts. Guys that maybe aren't as heralded, they always can run and catch. It's such a big part of their offense is, running backs being involved in the passing game. I don't know, unless they really, really, really love the guy. I don't see it. I think that's something they would think get later. It wouldn't shock me if they took another back at some point. Obviously McKissick, was released, so they have a spot in a sense. But again, they have guys that when asked to play have been pretty good here. Patterson, did a nice job at the end of the season. So I don't know. I'll be curious to see that as well. But yeah, I mean, they do have they are kind of in a mode where they don't have to take any position, right? Which is good. But I also think there's some positions they can ignore, and that would probably be one of them. And D tackle is the other one. Obviously, I wouldn't take a D tackle. But.
Right.
See.
Offensive line wise, tell me what you're seeing for the offensive line.
Well, I think they could definitely take a tackle, right? Or as they love to say, toothpick, this position flex.
Position flex.
Yeah, there's another ODU guy, actually, Nick Salvaderi, who was really good at the Senior Bowl, who was a guy who played played tackle, guard, and center. And he played center at Senior. He could play any of the positions in the offensive line. He'd be more of a day 2, day 3 guy. But anyway, he's interesting to me. But for the Commanders, if one of those stud tackles falls, right? Because let's say there's a run on quarterbacks. Like, say, there could be 4 quarterbacks, 4 picks, or whatever. Say that happens. It just moves everybody down, right? This just moves everybody down. So maybe one of the 2 or 3 best tackles in the draft sitting there at your 16th spot. Yeah, I mean, you could do that. I mean, Charles Leno, he could be in the same spot he was in when he was in Chicago, where he was on the team and then they cut him or they flip sides with him. At this, I mean, they already have they spend on money on Wiley. So I think Wiley's your right tackle, the kid they brought him from Kansas City, because he knows obviously the enemy's thing, and Cosme slides into right guard, but the left side's still kind of like the big question mark. You could roll with this Leno again, but you could also get younger. And if you think of guys like a young stud tackle doing him, this franchise usually had really good tackles, but since Trent Williams, they couldn't work that out. I mean, they've kind of been spitballing a little bit. Lucas for a year was fine, but Leno, but none of them are Trent Williams. I mean,
reminds you of when Sean Taylor passed, and we've still been looking for a safety forever.
Right. Well, I mean, like you like think about like the Jim Lachey back in the heyday. Before that, they Jacoby, and they had studs on the tackles, and then they had, of course, Chris Samuels played a long time, was very effective left tackle for them too. Mm-hmm. And then Trent obviously was great until they decided to not fix that situation. So
yeah, because the top four, tackles by grade, are pretty close.
Right.
There's not a big drop between 1 through 4. Maybe after that, yeah. 1 through 4. So it's still a chance. I've already said, I think I'm talking about my team, the Falcons, should take one of those tackles.
Yeah, you guys could right down there where you're picking, sure.
Exactly. You brought back the line from last year. They got beat like a drum. So you lost one of those guys, but you brought the other 2 back. I mean, I'm serious. Ant laughing, but Ant know I'm serious.
Ant laughing, yeah, he know.
So, I know they're bringing in other people, but you have the opportunity to land one of these guys who, like you said, they could be one of those career guys,
Yeah.
In that position that could hold that spot for their whole career, and you not have to worry about it.
Exactly.
So,
and then, in the first rounder, you're talking about a 5-year, control over them, obviously, with the contract, which is great. So you'd love to do that because you know what? You look at what people are spending on left tackles, right? And right now in free agency, and you see how high those numbers can get. So if you can get a guy on a rookie scale, right, for 5 years, even as a first round pick, it's great value. I mean, and you hope, like you said, they could play decade plus for your team.
Right. And get in there, man.
I'm going through. We had the luxury of having one of the biggest homers that I've ever met. Fred Smoot on here, and he had some.
That's his guy.
Geez Louise, the way he made it sound, Scott, is that this team is just one quarterback away from hoisting the Lombardi. I mean, for crying out loud here. So I'm assuming that you're going to be a little bit more of a realist in this arena.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, daughter FaceTime me, so I didn't get to catch a little bit of this conversation,
okay.
But I think y'all were probably saying that lineman is a high need position.
Yeah,
I'd say that's.
Yeah, I'd say it's still there. I'd say cornerback is another. I've seen a lot of Joey Porter Jr. connections with the Commanders, although I hate the write-ups on him when they say great man coverage guy, struggles in zone, and this team plays a ton of zone. And I'm like, didn't we just do this with William Jackson? I mean, what are you thinking? So
don't tell him that.
Fred said, get
don't
the
tell
guy
him
out
that.
of Mississippi State.
Yeah,
but,
of course he did. Of course he did. We already got Dantzler, and they picked up Dantzler, got cut by the Vikings. But now the kid from Mississippi State's good. But he weighs like 45 pounds or something. I mean, the kid's like,
Ant weighs more than him.
Yeah, he weighs like an eighth grader, as much as an eighth grader, I think, or seventh grader. But I don't know. That worries me a little bit. But no, I mean, there are some quality corners potentially at that spot as well, which they could use. Again, tackle would be helpful as well. I'm not going to say linebacker anymore because they literally play like one on the field at a time or two with a lot of their packages. I think the position you can obviously X out. They're not going to take a D tackle. They're not going to take a wide receiver in the first round. And I've had people try to sell me on a tight end in the first round, but for at least what they've said, I guess we'll take it for their word at this point. I don't see that. I think they still believe in Logan Thomas and some of the young people they drafted and brought in over these last couple seasons, but we'll see. That's all subject to change. But I would say, yeah, if you're pin me down, I'd say tackle or corner is the most likely thing to go for them.
All right.
Do you believe that the defensive scheme actually fits? Early on, Del Rio had a lot of issues. I've heard a lot of people last year, especially guests and co-hosts, saying that these guys couldn't scheme their way out of a paper bag. So on offense and defense. I know that front four is the shining bright spot, and then probably safety next shows a lot of promise. Do you believe that this scheme fits them best, or could some early faltering lead to some more changes possibly?
Well, yeah, I mean, they played better defensively last year than the year before, but they also played a weaker schedule in terms of quarterbacks, right? Like this quarterbacks they were playing last year weren't the same level as the previous year. Right. On the schedule. So that'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I mean, I think Del Rio, I think he's a solid defensive coordinator. Is he, I don't know, pick who's the best defensive coordinator now. I don't even know who to compare him to, but I mean, I don't think he's the best guy in the league, but I don't think he's the worst. I think they played up front in particular very well last year with the new defensive line coach, Coach Z, when they made that change. The big part of it this year will be, how do they, what did they get out of Chase Young, obviously, because they, we barely saw him play last year.
The 5th-year extension.
Yeah, and then same with Sweat. I mean, it's a big year for Sweat. He's more than likely going to be a free agent at the end of the year unless they get something done between now and the start of the season. So really, those guys have got to make it happen, right? I mean, you know what you're going to get from Allen and Payne. They've been really good. Payne obviously just came up a career year and got paid for it. But the linebacker play is still a little question. Is this thin? It's just not a lot of numbers there. But again, the way they play it, they have one of them on the field because you're playing an extra safety or an extra corner, is how they're kind of handling it. But I mean, I thought there were stretches last year. They were really good. There were stretches at the beginning of the year. They were awful. Those first 2 weeks was not pretty at all, but they slowly, but surely got better. But yeah, I'd like to see them just as a team as a whole, like actually get off to a fast start. And obviously with the ownership change and all that stuff, I mean, you can't afford not to. I mean, not to say that, Josh Harris, assuming he gets the team, is going to fire Ron Rivera, in October. But it's certainly, if you're trying to make a case to why you should stay here beyond this season, you gotta get out of the gates quickly to make sure you get yourself in the playoffs and do something.
Well, speaking of ownership, I know Friday that you were out at the Old Ox Brewery.
Yeah, my favorite brewery.
Virginia. Ashburn, Virginia. Yeah, it's your favorite because you don't have to travel that far.
That's right, it's close.
right. So, how was the Buy Dan beer, and where are the cans?
The cans are. I have some possession of some. I was people have been hitting me up, any cans, because they ran out of beer. They're doing a reorder now. They're doing a batch, I think, in May. And the beer was excellent. I mean, all their beers are very good. I'm a big fan of their beer. And the crowd was crazy. I mean, they were not anticipating that many people coming out to this thing, and they thought it'd be a good crowd. But Ashburn, it's a little bit further out west. If it's near Dulles Airport, so it's not as easy to get to if you're in Maryland or DC. But I mean, people came from everywhere, and you got to go on the toll road and all that stuff. So, I mean, it was amazing. People just wanted to get together and just celebrate. Celebrate the end of the tyranny,
Right.
The end of the tyranny. So it was a lot of fun and great marketing thing by the radio station, by the brewery. So we enjoyed it.
Yeah, you did receive my address, so just let me know what I owe, and I got you. All right, so Darren Haynes put this thing out after it was announced that there was a non-exclusive deal with the Harris Rail Group, and then all of a sudden you see that, and I believe the Junkies had it first.
Yes,
the Junkies had this, that Davis was worth $50 billion, and he was ready to pay $7 billion for the Commanders. The question being, how do you go from millions to billions so fast after being sued? Even Sean Merriman came on and said, don't believe this.
Scottie Pippen, I believe, still owed money. They couldn't buy the Memphis Grizzlies. There was a thing in Durham when I lived in North Carolina with Leitner and him trying to start these condos that went south. Look, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a great comeback story in business people. Everybody's just missing it right now. But I just look at it this way. Okay, the NFL, which likes money, they've not even given this any attention. You know what I mean? They haven't. I mean, maybe Bank of America is. I don't know, but it just doesn't. It doesn't pass the common sense test. That there's anything to it, and you don't get penalized for making crazy bids on things you can't afford. So it gets Brian Davis's name out there, I suppose. I don't know. They're saying now that it's Saudi money. It's maybe kind of like people that were funding the Live Golf, which doesn't shock me. So, but it does not appear the NFL's biting on it, let alone Dan Snyder at this point. So, I don't think it's going to happen. Remember that the owners they still get their say.
They still got to ratify it.
They still got to ratify it. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and but I never really thought it was real. Maybe I don't know. Like I said, maybe, but there's been a lot of good CSI stuff done on this in the last couple of days. People that cover this stuff a lot differently. This is out of my realm, right? But they're you can't find this LLC, this, that, the other. It's all the same LLCs. There's this thing that's supposedly been patented for $50 billion as a website. I mean, there's all these weird things, like these companies that are usually worth that kind of money, like you have a web presence. But none of this can be found with some of these things they're claiming.
All right.
The bid was a layaway plan, though. Let's not forget.
Yes, it's a layaway.
Yes, he wanted to pay $1 billion and pay the other $6 billion within 7 days. So, and
sometimes that's what you got to do.
And he wanted to take on all of Dan's legal and financial woes that he has. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the weird thing with the legal stuff. Like, if Dan is being sued personally, obviously that has nothing to do with the Commanders. It's just like the Commanders, they have those 2 cases that are pending, and they've they've paid fines, obviously, in 2 municipalities up here already for those things, the season ticket holders and stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of like a drop in the bucket. I know people are freaking out because some of the stuff with Harris says they would take some indemnification responsibilities off of his plate, if it comes to it. Harris and his group apparently $5.8 billion right away, and then the $250 million over 2 years or each year or something like that is what it would be. And he would be like a 30% owner, and then there's going to be a bunch of limited partners beyond Rails, who's the next highest person, and then it's Magic, and I think Mark Ian, who runs the used to run the Washington Castles, a bunch of businesses up here, and also runs the City Open, although I'm not sure it's called the City Open anymore, the tennis tournament up here, because I think they're losing sponsorship this year. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, it's a lot of local people apparently. Maybe, who knows, maybe that's where like you'll get like some famous people beyond like Magic. Not that Magic's not famous, but like KD or some of the locals, or Matthew McConaughey, and there's some discussion about him. Who knows?
All right, so Scott, we want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
We really do appreciate it. Thank you for being available to us. So listen, whenever I'm in the car, you always come across my radio on Sirius XM. You're everywhere from 106.7 The Fan to the Team 980. Let everyone know where they can find you for the rest of the week. What's going on with you?
Me and Rick Walker will be doing 980 on Thursday and Friday for Kevin Sheehan from 10. What is he on now? 10 to 1.
10 to 1.
10 to 1. Yep. And I'll be on 106.7 on Sunday, I think 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Early one.
Well, you guys know where to catch Scott at. Make sure you guys dial that number and give him a call, give him a holler. He's always great. He loves to talk to you, so it's good. Thank you again for
Appreciate
being
it.
available.
I'll get you your beer can. Don't worry.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Thanks.
Pleasure, sir.
Have a good night. See you guys.
Scott Jackson. All right, the pride of ODU that just joined us. Sid gets the big box again. Sid always gets the big box. He's right there.
So listen,
serious.
guys.
Hey, I'm always ready. What you got?
Okay.
This is the thing. When I think about this guy, the $7 billion guy,
Yeah.
you know what? I wouldn't count him out. He's sounding real Batman-ish. That's my first thing.
Yeah.
He's sounding real Batman had a whole little situation where it was a certain department, but it really was his Batman stuff.
But everyone knew Bruce Wayne was rich, though.
Yeah, but this guy got rich overnight.
They think some of the money could be Saudi money.
Yeah,
he could have it. Some of it could be Saudi money.
But he said that he got his millions by selling intellectual property,
which we can't forsake.
What is the intellectual property?
He from his business. I can't remember the name of it right now.
It basically it's being able to sell off like total ownership of whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like having the Beatles catalog.
But it was like millions.
No, you're not hearing what I'm saying.
No, he was getting millions and couldn't pay it, and now you have billions.
That's what rich people do. What are we talking about here?
He sold his intellectual property, and there was a lot of stuff that was tied up in the company that he owns. You said his name?
The orange man.
No.
Exactly.
Number one is doing that.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It's amazing how, oh man, my money tied up in X, Y, and Z, and then all of a sudden
when you
reappears. That's what I'm saying. Like, for real, when you talk about being able to hide your money in trusts and all that stuff, and then
let's talk about hide the money. I know how to hide the money.
Well, so can I also talk about one other thing that we didn't get to touch? Phoenix, Arizona, the Phoenix Suns, right?
Yes.
Me and a buddy had a 30 to 45 minute conversation around the trade deadline about why people thought all of a sudden, and mind you, they could go on a crazy run and win the title, but Chris Paul cannot stay healthy. That's number one. He is not as efficient as he has been in the past 10 years.
Well, when you 97 still playing basketball.
Well, but that's my point though. No. That's my point though. So you take him, and then Booker he's a rattlesnake with no venom. We've seen him shrink in the biggest moments every time. Wow. And that's against the Mavericks when you're the top seed. that's against in the finals where I seen him be ever so passive. So I'm trying to understand why people all of a sudden thought that there was going to be this dynamic team, even with adding KD, who can we remember got hurt on a routine layup drill.
Okay,
the guy has been
But see, that's the thing, and
she warned you once. I can't help you, bro.
With
KD
joining that team, right? I'm gonna show you. With
no,
KD
he said
joining
warned
that
me
team,
way.
that takes some of the pressure away from CP3, right? He no longer has the press to let me get this shot. Help he was in the game because you got CP3. That also at the same time frees up Booker. Now, like I say, in the first game, nobody was hitting the first game. I watched that game. Nobody was hitting. They were missing jumpers at the rim, layups, wide open. I mean, in the backyard, wide up by yourself. They were missing them. But they were one of the hottest teams going down the stretch to make it to the playoffs. I think they were like 7 out of 10 in their last hit, something like that. I had to double check and see, but they were one of the hottest teams. Yeah. But like I was saying, with that being said, taking the pressure over CP3 allows him to, if he has to step in the fourth quarter, then he does. Because most teams make adjustments at halftime. You can't make an adjustment to CP3 in the fourth quarter where he's now going off because he could sit back and rest for most of the game. That's why I thought. I'm one of those people who thought they should be better this year than they were last year. That was one of the things I was thinking about.
Yeah.
So it just appears that he don't got it no more. Though.
Hold on. First,
that's my thing.
And I need to address this right here.
What up, Mo?
Thank you.
What up, Mo?
Oh,
there you
go. Sheep Bama.
And I gotta address this one right here. Okay,
what
so
is that about?
This is John.
Go ahead. I'm sorry because I want to.
You about to go on John? Is that?
This is John. So I need y'all to go to Garage Gym Life. Not right now, but later today. Y'all need to go to Garage Gym Life and look for this short where John is lifting. He has a bar on his neck, and then he's lifting another bar. And I said, "You are the monster under the bed." Because, that monster that's just under there when you just a kid and he just lift everything. That's exactly what it looks like. I was like, you are
a kid on Monsters.
I thought,
yeah.
I thought he was finna say this short man that can walk under the bed without bending his knees. That's what I thought he was about to say.
That's John. That's John.
Yeah, that's what I thought he was gonna say. But it's good to see you, my boy. It really is. So can we get to the sheepdog in this?
Yes, and
horrible.
Hey, he said, "Don't come for KD."
Yeah.
So please, my sir, can we just also can we just start out by pointing out the obvious that they had the best record ever last year, the year prior to him coming? Can we just talk about how they didn't need any help to win those championships? All he had to do was show up. I mean, yes, he had to score the ball and all that stuff.
Wow.
KD, stop it, man.
He did win the MVP.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, Ant.
And he won the MVP.
There were games where the Bass brothers were off. They were off, and the person they couldn't stop was KD. There was more than one game. On their run to that time, it was more than one game where he was an X factor.
Don't you come for KD now? Don't do that.
Come on, guys.
You
being a real Bama,
Come
right?
on, guys. Listen, I'm gonna let y'all do all that y'all want. I'm gonna let y'all do all that, but I'm just telling you.
You're being a real Bama right now.
No, they were champions prior to KD. Can you remember what Draymond told him? You remember what Draymond told him? We won before you, we will win after you. And it was true.
But he contributed. Don't do that.
Yeah, he contributed, but come on.
You can't take that away. There were plenty of games.
But look, that's like us three doing this and then adding Lady A. Come on, man. It's already listen. All we did was hulk up. All we did was hulk. Listen, we just hulked up. What are we talking about here?
So what's the problem?
That's what I'm
Does
saying.
that
It's
mean
a cheat. What
Does
I'm
that
saying is,
mean
She's a
James
cheat code.
Conn-
I'm
She's a
saying
cheat code.
it's an advantage for Golden State, but it's a
She's-
cheat code.
She's a
And
cheat
it-
code.
I'm a cheat code.
Yes, yes, that's all I'm saying.
That's a
I don't
compliment.
know.
That's a
I'm
compliment.
Steph.
Take
Look,
this.
I'm Steph.
No,
I'm
not even
Steph.
close.
He's Clay. You're Draymond. You're Draymond.
Who's Draymond?
You're Draymond. You're Draymond.
He got me going both ways.
You're Draymond. You're clearly Draymond.
Yeah, okay.
And
But-
how are you, Steph? How are you, Steph?
That's what I
Hey,
want to know.
baby.
Because
Hey,
you're the
baby,
middle one?
I'm an automatic bucket. You
Is it
already
because
know.
you're the-
I'm an automatic bucket. I'm a walking, talking bucket.
It's
You
because
understand
you're
me?
the little one.
Oh my goodness.
That's what it is.
You can say what you want, baby. I'm going down as one of the greatest. I'm going down as one of the
What
greatest.
is this?
I don't know
That's
what
my
that
three.
is.
That's my
What
three.
that was? That's awful. It looks broken.
Oh,
Well,
my
I'm
God.
working with limited range here in front of
All
the
right,
camera.
listen.
You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, Draymond put his foot down yesterday. He put his foot down yesterday.
Stepping on
He
people's
is
chest.
defending him a little bit.
Stepping on people's chest.
I got questions, man. I got questions.
What is it?
If you're playing against the Golden State Warriors and you see Draymond step just foot down on one of your teammates, did we just hear the bell go ding ding, or we just gonna beat him on the scoreboard? I just gotta know because
They don't
I
say
know.
Revert to practice video.
Refer to practice video. Say it. One of the listen. You called me Draymond. That might actually be Draymond. Now say it goes from cool to hot like fire.
Because I
in
was
3
trying
seconds.
to figure out, am I supposed to give the
Brother,
HR PC answer?
But lady, hey, he act like we don't know him or something. Bro, you don't compare him to Draymond, bro. He can have attitude problem. But you, sir,
You see the
are
smile.
by far. Oh yeah, we
Wait,
see the
oh,
yeah,
was
we
that
see it.
you're smiling?
You see the
It's not
smile.
Draymond smiles too. New
right.
media, baby. We get it.
You see the smile. Like
Matter
listen,
of fact, Draymond smiles out often.
as long as you see the
Not a
smile,
lot.
we good.
But you know what though? You know what I will say? I do believe that because of his history, it's easier to just believe that he's intentional in all the things that he does.
He wasn't.
No. I'm saying it's easy for people to believe that just in general now. If Draymond does something, they assume it was premeditated. But if you look at the situation, he did kind of grab his foot, and it gets to a point where it's like, bro, what am I gonna do? Grow 2 inches on my foot? Am I gonna like triple jump? And like it just doesn't make sense.
Well, Draymond said
but
someone grabbed him, so he was irritated. He was frustrated. With that said, it kind of sounds like he's like, they kept messing with me, so I stepped on them.
No, listen. Okay, he.
I
Had
know
his,
you're
he had
saying
his-
no. He said he didn't do it on purpose, but
He
when
did
you
it on
bring-
purpose.
when
It
you
looked no purpose to me.
yeah, when you bring up the fact that everybody's been doing this to me and blah blah blah, that's what it sounds like. And I agree, Sheepdog. That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
definitely
You come down to Barry Falls and see what happens. Listen, if he had just stepped, like he's grabbing his foot and he just steps so he can continue on and get that next foot down, but he put his foot down. He brought it up and he brought it down with
Yeah.
authority.
But were we surprised?
Well,
Because I wasn't.
I think the way you just explained that is actually improper. If he would have just stepped normal, it would have been worse. Because he would have literally like leaned, like it wasn't like that. It would have been a transfer of weight anyway. But the way that he actually did it, not to say it's a good way to step on somebody, that was the best option for him because it was almost like step jump versus okay, I'm just gonna step where I land and like you get what I'm saying? It wasn't a normal walking motion.
HR, I'm gonna ask Sid a question.
Okay.
All right. Does Ant say it? Does Ant sound like someone that is looking forward to Draymond Green playing for the Dallas Mavericks?
I can answer you that absolutely. I hope they lose so he can go ahead and get his contract with the Mavericks. I'm not even kidding you.
And he just said it was a good way to step on him. He said
And Sheepdog, can we stop acting like Draymond ain't one of them. No, like Draymond ain't no. Come on, like
they're not calling him
listen.
a punk, but
No. But he keeps saying this like. Let's be honest. If we're talking about being in street ball, it's gonna be a general respect between everybody. They know Draymond's pedigree.
What street ball you see? I don't see no.
I'm saying that energy will be met with the Come on, y'all. Any of y'all grow up in the hood? It's an understanding.
Yes, I grew up in the hood.
Okay, so then you understand that it's a certain way that we approach things.
No, and you got to understand. You saw the Lord.
Berry Farms ain't the hardest place in the world, bro. Everybody has hoods.
Nobody said it.
I'm done. I don't want it. That's all I want you to agree.
My hood ain't no different than your hood. Listen, I done been to Compton, California, and guess what? It looked just like Southeast Washington, D.C. to me.
Exactly. Right. Sheepdog, I don't think that Sheepdog was saying only Berry Farms. It's
but he's so, that's what he knows.
Like if you go to the hood and you do that,
to play basketball. Expect to play basketball like the longest yard. You know what I'm talking about. Did I get you, dog?
Right.
Did I get you?
And my point is that doesn't happen in street ball. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, but
he's not going to step on somebody. He's not about to step on somebody. It's
not gonna, it's not going to end well. That's why you don't do it.
It's not even about that, guys. Y'all missing it. It's not about that.
There's nobody to stop anyone from checking you for real if you did that.
So that means when that guy. So that means when the street ball guy goes to the ground, he's not grabbing Draymond's foot. And you get what I'm saying? So that situation doesn't happen like that. That's all I'm saying.
No, and the situation happens like that. Listen, we play basketball, and when you roll through DC, it's basketball courts everywhere. And when you travel and you take your 5 over here to play these dudes, and y'all whoop up on them, and then they flip the script and bring a couple more dudes on there from the neighborhood because y'all came and ran through everybody. Now you gotta win this game, and you gotta win the fight on the way back home to your court. It's like that.
Once again, that's understood. You're not talking about the things that are happening on the court that are outside of basketball.
I am.
We're both gonna rough each other up. You get what I'm saying?
I'm talking about.
You're gonna give me a little more of an elbow. I'm gonna check you a little tougher. That's understood.
If Draymond did that in the hood, the game is over.
And listen, I remember being on basketball court in PG County, and dude was like, he's like, "You're not scoring another bucket on me." And the dude came down. He said, "I'm about to take you to the hole right now." And he crossed him over, and the dude punched him right in the face. You ain't scored another bucket. And he did not lie. Because he started the fight. Yeah, there was no more bucket. And he was giving him the business. They was going back and forth. He said, "You're done scoring." And he told him, "I'm finna come do it again." And
that also doesn't happen in the NBA. So my point is this. There's an understanding when that guy says that is going to come with something from the other person in this neighborhood.
Do you really think that Sabonis deserved to have his chest stomped on?
I never said that. Why are you saying that?
I know you didn't.
That's not the point.
I'm asking you the question. Just because I'm holding your foot, do you deserve to get your chest stomped?
I never said that.
I'm asking.
It's clear that he didn't deserve that. But once again, like I started this with, it's automatically assumed that Draymond is purposely doing things like he's already losing the benefit of the doubt in Lady A's mind because of certain things. No, I'm serious, because she's the first one who says something about it. I'm like, I just don't think that it always happens like that. And this has nothing to do with him being a Maverick. This is just people do dumb things, of course,
right?
But to give somebody the title of this is who they are as a result of it, I just don't agree with that all the time. Is all I'm saying.
I got you.
I have a question.
Go.
So, how many times does Draymond have to do things like this for us to realize this is Draymond? How many times does a duck quack before you say, "Hey, that's a duck"? I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there.
I think he approaches the game a certain way. I do. I don't think he's the most skilled either, though. I'll give you that. I don't think he's the most skilled.
Draymond plays dirty. We all see it. He plays dirty. So if he's accused of playing dirty, unfortunately, that is a result of him playing dirty. I don't see anything wrong with it. It would be unfortunate if it was an accident, but this is Draymond. This is Draymond. You have to be honest about who he
I
is.
agree. I definitely agree to a certain extent that it definitely is him. And last thing I'll say, I watched a video earlier on YouTube. I forgot the team that they were playing. I think it was Memphis or somebody like that. And Draymond is literally telling these, because he said Draymond punks Caucasians. I watched him punk a bunch of, no matter of fact, it was New Orleans Pelicans, that's that thing they got into the last time they played. And he said a bunch of things to the entire team that I can't repeat, but nobody did anything. Everybody just smiled. In the NBA, at least, nobody really wants to try him like that. In the NBA, it's a lot of fake tough guys. I think Draymond's proven he's at least one of those guys that will do something about it. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
listen.
Dirty player, sure. I'm
I
not
gotta
going to
go.
take that away from you.
I got a migraine. Say it, got it. Y'all be easy. I'm out.
Okay.
Get better, brother.
Yeah, go ahead and lay that on down there, my man. And we're gonna keep it moving from there.
Lay that
Whoa,
on down there.
whoa. Okay, so now we know that Draymond probably did it for real, but we don't get on that. One of the things we have not had a chance to talk about was the upcoming pending NFL draft. One of the things that we were talking about were the up and down stock of a few people that was upcoming in this draft. We said we would mention it just to see what some people thought one way or the other, what people about these players in particular. One of the players in particular who seems to ride Ant the wrong way is Anthony Richardson.
Mm.
Is it me?
I mean, I
Or is it
understand what you're saying,
toothpick?
but my bad. You're right.
It's
Toothpick,
toothpick.
you're right. Yeah, toothpick.
I just posed the
Right,
question based off of certain conversations.
So with what we've seen so far with a bunch of movement of the different teams in the first round, Anthony Richardson's stock. Because remember, the only way the only way the NFL invites players to the draft is if they've gotten notice from multiple teams.
Yep.
That if he falls to me, I'm going to take him. So do you think he falls to the second round, or do you think somebody actually moves up and takes him in the first round?
I'm going to say this. Based off of what we've seen as far as who is inviting people out to their facility and who they're talking to, all these visits and things, it's a possibility that his stock may be down. Because there are a few people that we did not put on our list to discuss, and their stock is rising. Their quarterbacks. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at who is really truly showing interest.
Oh, I mean, we only ask this because these players we're about to talk about, they seem to be lightning rods right now. It's why we're saying it.
Right.
They seem to be lightning rods. What's going on?
Yeah.
John just said all of the teams 16 and down need a QB. Man, so the thought process behind this was, of course, we all know Jalen Carter had the situation. Nobody really thinks he's going to drop out of the top 10, but doesn't mean that Anthony Richardson doesn't have the potential to go to a team before him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just think that the Colts have shown to be less than smart or wise when it comes to certain decisions.
Yeah.
And they are at number 4, correct? Or number 3. I could see a world. I could see a world where they draft that kid. So stock of Anthony Richardson at least getting drafted in the first round, I think it's a high probability. but I could also see that kid sliding
Yeah.
because his value isn't there as much as, because I mean, you got to think from Bryce Young to CJ Stroud, there's a humongous drop off.
Mhm.
And then there's the Will Levitt kid, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Will Levis.
Levis,
You know who done went to a bunch of teams to visit lately? Hendon Hooker. That's whose stock is rising, and I'm like, whoa, I'm peeping this. I'm paying attention to this.
Yeah, the only thing stopping him from being one of those top guys is that knee injury.
Mhm.
He's
still going to visits though, so they don't care too much.
Yeah, I could see him going in the second round easy.
Yeah, his stock is rising. I see that.
Yeah, Metaphor, you missed it, buddy.
What is
so when we say Anthony Richardson, like there are quite a few teams that need quarterbacks. Do we actually believe because of the lack of tools and the multiple offensive coordinators hindered him in college? Do you think that's a possibility? I mean, with the exception of Pitts, can you name a wide receiver that has lately come out of Florida, the University of Florida?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think his more foundational issues speak more to that situation than anything. Yeah. I mean, I don't care what play you calling, unless you calling for me to do 20 yard outs or what. I don't know whatever the route tree is. Mm-hmm. If you can't make those throws, then that's your own issue. So I think I don't know. I don't think it's that or a scheme even. I just think no, sir. That's actually Blessings Abraham, but that's a whole nother story. So anyway, good. Thank you for coming in and getting your little weak jokes in, Metaphor. I appreciate you, man. It's good to see you.
But he did mention Hendon Hooker was in DC today. And he's been traveling across the country lately. So, and DC, let's keep in mind the Commanders do have, a pick in the first round.
And Sheepdog, to answer your question, that has to do with him signing that tender or not. If a team, if he signed that tender or a team made a trade offer, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. Both sides literally have to do nothing. All Lamar's going to do is lose money for not being there. So the team isn't winning anything. I mean, isn't losing anything really. They can go get somebody per draft or trade if they want to. You know what I'm saying? Like that. This team has not shown that they can't evaluate talent, with the exceptions of their quarterback, because they obviously don't want to put a system around him that works. But you
see what John said.
And as BOA to look into purchasing the Commanders.
Okay, so
how would destroy that team?
We're gonna move off of Anthony Richardson and move over to Jalen Carter. His agent already said that he's not going to interview with anybody outside of the top 10.
Be careful, boy.
Right.
I mean, talent wise. I mean, it's a good and a bad play. Good and a bad play, because he could feel like I'm still worthy of a top 10. Mm-hmm. But if I don't go in the top 10, somebody's getting again a generational talent for the first 5 years, and then they may have to pay him on the back end after that 5th year if he turns out to be who he's supposed to be. I think with the majority of the situation being over, that now he can focus solely on football, being ready for football. He got community service to do, but his focus now is straight football.
Right.
Do you think someone? I mean, we already know Vegas did, but you gotta remember who the head coach is at Vegas. He's not a good guy, no way. But anyway,
he's not wrapped too tight.
You have to think, if he falls to you at a team that doesn't need him, but he's the best available pick, does a team pass him or does a team take him? We already know 1 and 2 taking quarterbacks. We already know that. We can skip out of 1 and 2.
Yeah.
1 and 2 taking quarterbacks.
I mean, we talked about this. Then we Pick is the only one that didn't agree with that frame of thinking. If he falls to the Cowboys, you better throw that pick in so fast that it got fire and smoke coming off of it.
But he said to someone who don't need a quarterback, according to you, they need a quarterback.
No. We talking about Jalen Carter.
No, Jalen Carter.
Right.
See, you see how she attacked me, y'all?
I'm sorry. My bad. My bad.
But now, but yeah, I think you well, first of all, you never pass up generational talent.
No.
You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you gotta take the most talented, because what you don't want to do is overdraft somebody. So it's like if you pass on Jalen Carter, who the heck are you getting that could be his value? You know what I'm saying? So even if you're the Eagles, if he falls to you, you gotta take the kid, even if you try to flip him for something in the same draft.
Yeah.
See if, like, am I taking calls now? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
So you gotta see how you can play that, but I'm not passing up a guy like that. That's like, I mean, not saying that this is him, but you don't pass on Michael Parsons like you don't pass on Lawrence Taylor, or you don't pass on Reggie White, or you get what I'm saying? Like you just, these guys who have Hall of Fame written all over them, you draft them every time.
Lady A?
I actually agree with Ant. Shocking. But
you don't be disagreeing like that. Don't do that. See?
No, but I mean, when it comes to a lot of things, and we do not agree.
That's because you're a homer. That's the only reason why.
This is not about my home team at all. What are you talking about?
That's why we agree. Do you see what I'm
Even
saying?
with my home team, I'm very realistic. You're just a hater.
No, I am not.
Now, what
he said a bear. I hope
seen
not for him.
is that if he falls at 8, with us needing help on the defensive line, yeah, we've signed a few people, but Calais Campbell's at the end. He's at the end of his career. You know, I mean, you know, I like Calais Campbell, but he's at the end of his career. Do you pass over him, or do you take him? Me, at that point, you got a choice. I'm figuring you may have a choice of players that you need in positions in Atlanta: offensive line, defensive line, cornerback. There's all 3 75 miles away from the stadium. First round pick. Jalen has multiple rings. Roger Jones has multiple rings. It's proven that when he's playing, the quarterback doesn't get sacked. I mean, you're Roger Jones, I should say. I'm sorry, I said Jalen. Roger Jones. So if Atlanta doesn't pick Jalen, I mean, I'm back shaking my head. What are we doing?
I think you would probably lose it.
Thank you, Lady A.
I think you would lose it. I understand. I do. I understand. But I think that you would it's going to be a lot of cussing.
Hey,
yeah.
Ant, be ready to make a short out of that one, Ant. That's going to be a short for sure.
No, you be ready to mute. That's what you be ready to do.
Oh, snap.
Be ready.
Listen, I'm not going to lie to you, though. I think that's going to be a good draft show. That first round is going to be a good draft show.
The first round is going to be
because I agree. I think it's going to be a lot of moving parts that we don't see. You know what? I think it's going to be a lot of trades, a lot of moving up and down because of how loaded the draft is in a few positions. So I think it'll be interesting. So I'm not surprised by anything. I can see Jalen going early. You know what I'm saying? So it just, right. I mean, earlier than 8, even though I think somebody of value is going to fall to y'all said. I think it's just the nature of y'all's, I think it's just the nature of the draft this year. Is that a grand slam?
Yeah.
Rangers are taking off.
The nature of the draft. As we go back, we're gonna run about the NBA, the NBA playoffs. Not just Draymond Green, but the NBA playoffs themselves. These games. My quick question, and we're not gonna take long. My quick question is: after watching these first sets of games, who do you still like the same person you picked at the beginning of the series for right now? After how they played the first set of games,
yes.
Who'd I pick?
I had
I don't know who you picked. I had to go back and look at that.
I
I'm not sure
cannot
who you picked.
remember.
I know Golden State was a few of us picked Golden State. I think picked Boston. I had to go back and look at it and see. I haven't read
yeah,
down.
yeah, that's I was saying
don't
Boston,
remember.
Milwaukee battling it out, Golden State, and
We have. I have to go back to it later. I haven't written
Because I
down.
feel like
at least in the East.
and the reason why I said that is because what I thought would happen isn't happening. You know what I mean? Like when I look at what's going on, like just like the NFL, like I feel like sports as a whole is just like, stop it. What is going on? Who was drooling over Steph? Oh, Metaphor don't know me well at all.
She don't like no little light skinned man.
He don't know me at all. That's very clear.
She like big burly.
What?
Oh, watch out now. Watch out
Just
now.
playing.
Just sit down. Just
Okay. Hey, one more
"What?"
thing before we get ready to leave out of here.
right, because Aunt acting up already.
The
Hey.
XFL playoffs begin this weekend.
Yes.
You got on Saturday, April 22nd, you got Orlando at St. Louis. The DC Commanders are in San Antonio. To play.
Defenders.
Oh, I'm sorry.
DC
Defenders. Hey, did I jinx him?
He tried it real quick.
Woo, if they turn it into these guys, they gonna magically disappear out the playoffs.
I'm gonna tell you right now, we not playing them games. Say it.
My bad. And then on Sunday,
Defenders.
you got Houston coming in playing the Arlington Renegades in Arlington at 3 o'clock. And then you got Vegas at Seattle. Those are the 4 teams that made the playoffs.
Yeah.
And well, somebody slipped on this one. We're gonna let them slide. Give me a game I already know. Give me a game you would like to watch this weekend in the XFL Amp. Orlando, St. Louis, DC, San Antonio, Houston, Arlington, and Vegas at Seattle.
I would have to go with where it's sunny at. Give me Orlando. Give me Orlando. I'm not
They're playing in
interested.
St. Louis.
Oh crap!
In Missouri. And from the last phone call I got from Baby Girl, it was raining up there.
Oh crap! Well, yeah, I'm still gonna take them though, because I don't want nothing Washington on my TV.
Oh, you a hater. I did not say he was a hater. That is the best team in the XFL.
Can't hear you, lady. Hey, what you say? What you say? Talking to my good ear.
You're such a hater. But I do want to say this, and I'm not sure if this is going to affect any of the games, but Chris Smith from the Seattle Sea Dragons has passed away. And so, you know, they just announced.
Young, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was born in 92.
Dang.
Oh man.
I don't know what happened, but they just released that. So I'm not sure how that's going to affect things, you know, if they're gonna postpone the game or I just don't know.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. I really am.
Yeah.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that. I think I would like to see actually, you know what? I might see some tickets available to go to the Houston Arlington game.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And they're playing in Arlington.
The Renegades they don't score no points for me.
Well, yeah, you're right. But you know, they're 4-5 because you know they were just here visiting, and we escorted them out.
Listen, we always look to get out of places like that quickly, so we don't care.
What you mean get out of places like that? What's the problem?
You heard what I said, didn't you?
You heard what I said.
We look to get out of there quickly.
And I'm gonna tell y'all. Let me give y'all a idea of what DC looked like on Sunday.
Go ahead.
So we had the Defenders playing at 12, literally right across the street. Like you can walk right across the street The Nationals played at 1. Both teams won. DC was just out of control. Just let y'all know. I don't know who selected the fact that that they were both playing at home the same time, but that was absolutely crazy.
What about the Wizards? How they looking?
Oh, he's shooting shots.
Right.
No, what you talking about? I'm just waiting to hear about.
Talking about they're not playing right now.
Washington out. Oh, snap. Okay, my bad.
Don't we cover the playoffs? Don't we cover the playoffs? But anyway, I will be in attendance for the championship game at the end of this month.
That's if y'all make
it. The North.
I'm sorry, you know
what? No, we got that. We got that game. I'm not talking about the one in San Antonio. I'm talking about the North championship game. You was being a hater too. I tell you. These two right here.
There's hope until it's not.
They are playing at the end of the month at home, and it's the North Championship game. So I'm pleased. I'll be there.
You're pleased.
Well, all right, then
I will be there.
We're gonna get ready to get up out of here and end this thing, and we're gonna send a quick shout out to Two-Pick. Hopefully his migraines get under control, because I understand people with migraines how to work for them. Man, we'll pick them up next time. And be ready for Thursday. Is the last of the mock draft for the first round that we'll have Thursday to get ready for the following Thursday for the actual draft itself. I think we have five or six picks for Thursday to end the first five for the first round. So come back and join us, do a recap so you can see exactly what we have. See how we match the mock draft that you have listed so far. NBA playoff games going on right now. Them Hawks gonna get the broom. Anyway, other teams that are playing, welcome to them. Good job and a good luck to everybody else that's playing. And we'll see y'all later.
Hey, shout out to Pick Son, second to none. Come get some.
Go Dogs.
Ready for your beats? My first song is the person.